Welcome to my channel Limelight Leaks. Please share and subscribe and hit the bell icon for new updates. I never tried to be Ronnie. I never wore a cowboy hat. I never went barefoot tanned, but I just wanted to be Johnny. And I love writing songs. Johnny Van Zant stood on stage with the lights getting dim behind him as the first notes of Free Bird started to play. He closed his eyes, put his hand on the microphone, and sang the same words his brother Ronnie had once sung almost 50 years ago. Behind him, the crowd went quiet. Some put their hands up, others cried. Not because they were sad, but because they felt something deeper. A good beat that never really ended. How do ya walk in the footsteps of someone famous when you're the one carrying the heavy feeling off losing them? How do you sing songs that once belonged to a brother whoa, died too young, when every word holds sadness that you can't even explain? For Johnny Van Zant, the answer wasn't about being famous, getting lots of place in line, or hearing people clap. It was a booth fact that he was still here, still singing, still keeping the music alive, like Ronnie was still there. Johnny is the ounge. In the Van Zant family, a family with southern rock music running through their blood. Of the three brothers, Ronnie was the leader. It's the one who helped Lynyrd Skynyrd become famous in America in the 1970s. But when bad luck took Ronnie in a plane crash in 1977, only 17 years old then, went through a long time of being very sad. Before finally stepping up to carry on the music as a promise he made to his family and to the American South. Since 1987, Johnny has been the main singer of Lynyrd Skynyrd. No one ever asked him to be Ronnie, and he never tried to be. Instead, he kept the music going with respect for his brother. It's carrying Skynyrd's spirit through time, through hard times, through goodbye showstat somehow kept happening. Still standing there with the crowd saying goodbye Edo, Free Bird, one more time. Johnny Van Zant is not someone who replaced his brother. He is someone who keeps the flame burning. Early life. Johnny Roy Van Zant was born on February 27, 1960, in Jacksonville, Florida, a working-class city in the northeast part of the state, where dusty dirt roads and the sound of truck engines mixed with the sounds of southern music to make something totally unique. In the Van Zant family, music was in something strange. It was part of everyday dinner time, the way their parents raised them, and how the brothers learned to listen to the world. He was youngest of three sons born to Lacey Van Zant. It's a tough father and a Pearl Harbor War hero who became a truck driver after the war. Every trip took was also a musical trip, the radio in his truck playing sad country songs, old church music, and later rock and roll as Shay's sons grew up and started to like their own music. Johnny's mother, Marianne, was the heart of the family, keeping them together with love and Christian faith. In that house, Johnny grew up with military rules, Southern pride, and a deep love for music. From when he was little, Johnny lived in the shadow of two famous brothers. Ronnie Van Zant, the oldest, was a natural leader, the starter and heart of Lynyrd Skynyrd. Johnny Van Zant, the middle brother, was just as energetic, leading the band 38 Special to big success in the late 1970s. Johnny, smaller, quieter, more shy, would often sit quietly at the side of the practice room, watching everything with it, saying anything. At first, he didn't think he'd become a singer. What Johnny realized loved was playing drums. Would spend hours every day tapping out beats on anything thought could make noise from tin can stove kitchen counters. But no matter where he was, music was in his blood. As a teenager, Johnny started his own band, not to be famous, but just to inside the music, just like his brothers. Then something terrible happened. On October 20th, 1977, when Johnny was only 17, a plane carrying Lynyrd Skynyrd with Ronnie Van Zant sitting in the front crashed into the Mississippi woods, killing Ronnie and two other band members right away. In Johnny's memory, it was a quiet afternoon. He was outside pulling weeds with his father when the phone rang. A short call, a scream, and from that moment on, his whole musical world changed forever. No more big brother, no more Skynyrd, just a 17-year-old boy standing between the broken pieces. Something famous and sadness. But instead of giving up, Johnny quietly started getting ready for something he didn't know, yet would become his life's mission to make sure his brother's spirit would keep singing through his own voice. Early career? After the shock of 1977, Johnny Van Zant didn't jump right into a music career. He spent the early years of the 1980s living at a slower pace, doing different jobs around Jacksonville and sometimes playing in small bars with friends. No one, not even Johnny himself, thought he would ever step into this spotlight Ronnie had left behind. But like family blood you can't fight, music kept flowing through him. Not loud, not forced, but like something that just needed to keep going. By late 1979, Johnny started the Johnny Van Zant Band, a separate group that had nothing to do with the Lynyrd Skynyrd story. Not trying to borrow its fame or copy Ronnie's style. He didn't choose to become a second famous frontman. Instead, he chose to be a Southern storyteller with a rough, honest voice full of quiet thinking. In 1980, the first album, No More Dirty Deals, came out. Even though it didn't make it big on the music charts, music reviewers saw it as work with deep feelings, the sound of someone who had lived through real loss. Songs like Only the Strong Survive and Stand Your Ground felt like Johnny was singing to himself, fighting back against what people expected, memories, and being in the shadow of a family legend. Over the next 5 years, he kept putting out albums. Round 2 in 1981, The Last of the Wild Ones in 1982, and Van Zant in 1985. His music back then had the classic Southern rock bass, but with more personal feelings. Less showing off Van Skynyrd, more deep thinking than 38 Special. And most of all, the quiet sadness of a younger brother, who would never ghetto call out to his brother again. Johnny's voice wasn't sharp or commanding yet, but it was full of feeling. He didn't need to yell to make people stop and listen. You could hear the Van Zant spirit whispering through every chorus. Still, making money from music stayed out of reach. By the mid-1980s, Johnny had to stop the band to take care of his growing family, while facing the hard truth his solo career might never make it big. But that's when an unexpected door opened from the very place that buried his past. In 1987, almost 10 years after the crash, the survivors of Lynyrd Skynyrd decided to get back together for a tribute to Ronnie and Zantan, the others lost in the accident. They needed a voice, not just one that could hit the right notes, but one that could carry the spirit. Johnny, the one who once promised never to replace his brother, was now the only one who could keep that flame alive. In that important moment, Johnny didn't walk on stage as a copy of Ronnie. He walked on as a brother, singing for the one who was gone and starting a new chapter in a career he had never wanted. Understood he was born to keep that story alive. Success. When Johnny Van Zant stepped onto the stage in 1987 for the Lynyrd Skynyrd reunion tour, he knew this wasn't just a concert. It was a good beat that had never been properly said. 10 years after the terrible 1977 plane crash, the band came back. Not to replace what was lost, but to keep it alive. And Johnny, the youngest brother once stood quietly at the side off the practice room, was now standing center stage, carrying his own sadness and the hopes of millions of fans. The pressure was huge. Every song had once belonged to Ronnie. From Simple Man to That Smell, from Tuesday's Gone to Freebird. The public was split. Some said he could never be as good, Oshi's brother. Others said the reunion itself was wrong and disrespectful to Thumb memory. But Johnny didn't argue. The K just sang with his own voice, never copying, never being dramatic, just continuing a story that had been left unfinished. And then something amazing happened. The crowd went quiet. Then sang along. What started as looking back at old times slowly turned into a shared event where people came to remember, to forgive, and to move forward. From that point on, Johnny became the main voice of Skynyrd. Not because he was Ronnie's brother, but because he had the courage in it to try to be Ronnie. Over the next 30 years, he led Lynyrd Skynyrd through tough times. From The Last Rebel in 1993 to God and Guns in 2009, and Last of a Dying Breed in 2012. These albums no longer made big news like in their best days, but they kept the soul of Southern rock alive, freedom, pride, and pain. Most importantly, his solo song Brickyard Road from 1990, written in memory of Ronnie, reached #1 on the rock charts. It's sad chorus going, say hello to Dad and Mom, tell them I'm okay, I'll be home one day on that Brickyard Road. Along with Skynyrd, Johnny also worked with his brother Donnie Nth project Van Zant, mixing Southern rock and country. putting out albums like Brother to Brother in 1998 and Get Right with the Man in 2005 with the single Help Somebody reaching the Billboard Hot Country chart. Johnny's success wasn't measured in numbers or awards. It was in the fact that as time went by, he stayed. The One Woe stood between two generations, singing old songs with a new heart, turning personal sadness into healing for everyone. In a world where rock music is dying out, Johnny Van Zant keeps scaring. That sound, not through big shows, but through being humble, personal life. When the stage lights go down and the touring life slows down, Johnny Van Zant is not a flashy rock star. It's a simple man living with his wife and children in Jacksonville, Florida. It's the same place where he was, born, raised, and never wanted to leave. For over 30 years, as the main voice of Lynyrd Skynyrd, he has rarely been caught in scandals, never made headliners for controversy, and has never chased after tabloid drama. That was a choice and a quiet. Promised to himself that fame will never be bigger than who he really was. Johnny got married pretty young and he Hazelways. Kept details about his family private. His wife, a woman who stays out off the spotlight. It's been his safe place, keeping him grounded after long trips on the road. They have 3 children. Anda's youngest daughter, Taylor Van Zant, has been very close to him, both in music and in life. People who've seen Johnny perform in recent years would know at the end of Simple Man. He often turns around and waves gently toward the backstage where Taylor sometimes stands waiting quietly. But that peace didn't last forever. In September 2024, Johnny's suddenly honest. He was canceling Lynyrd Skynyrd tour dates after finding out that Taylor had been diagnosed with a rare brain condition called cavernoma, a blood vessel problem that can cause seizures, strokes, or even death if not treated in time. Even thalassemia tests showed the tumor was not harmful and not cancerous. The incident hit hard for a father who had once lost his brother in a terrible plane crash. On social media, Johnny let his guard down for the first time. He wrote, "I've lost too many people in my life. This time, I can't take another loss. Please pray for my daughter." Thousands of messages came in from fans across America. Once again, Johnny realized that music may connect us, but truth brings us closer. This wasn't the first time he had to fight battles outside of music. In 2006, Johnny was rushed to the hospital for emergency surgery to remove his appendix while on tour, forcing the band to cancel several shows. In 2011, he was in the hospital again for a serious infection after surgery, case of cellulitis that needed weekly IV medicine. Yet through it all, Johnny never complained, never stopped. His private life was never loud, but it shows a lot about the man behind the stage lights. A loving father, a quiet husband who protects his family, and a younger brother who has never stopped missing Ronnie. It's not as a legend, but a Simeon he loved, who never came home. Legacy and impact. When people hear the name Johnny Van Zant, they often think of him as the replacement, the one who stepped into the place Ronnie Van Zant left behind. But to stop there is to miss the point. Idena didn't replace. I kept things alive. And it was that quiet, never giving up attitude, never showy, never trying to wear the crown of being a legend, that built a legacy all his own. Quiet, who too can't deny it. For over 30 years, holding the microphone for Lynyrd Skynyrd, Johnny proved that while a band can lose its soul, it doesn't have to lose who it is. He never tried to be Ronnie, never copied his way of standing, his way of talking, or his voice. Instead, he brought to Skynyrd a new honesty, a rough southern sound, and the steady calm of someone who grew up under shadow of something terrible, but never let it eat him up. Not only did he help Skynyrd survive and keep going, Johnny made Southern rock reach a new generation of kids. Along with his brother, Donnie, he's created the Van Zant Project, putting out country rock albums like Brother to Brother in 1998 and Get Right with a Man in 2005. The song Help Somebody not only did well in the country music world, but carried Avery Van Zant message: be kind, help others, even when no one is watching. In Johnny, fans saw an artist who didn't chase what was popular, but chose the long road, the down-to-earth path. It's never Beckham, the face of a movement, and he wasn't praised by the media like many of his peers. But to the fans of Southern rock, Johnny, it's the last person carrying the flame, a symbol of staying loyal to your roots. to Hunas music, and to memories that never fade. His legacy isn't measured by how many albums he's sold or trophies on a shelf. It lives in the way that each time he sings Free Bird or Simple Man, Johnny doesn't just perform. He reminds people. He brings listeners back to a time, to a person, to a Southern soul. And in that moment, even if only for a few minutes, the music makes what Waslos live again. Current life? In 2025, Johnny Van Zant turned 66, an age at which many artists choose to stop working. But for Johnny, rest has never been something could do. He's still on stage, still holding the microphone, still singing Simple Man or Freebird. Like each song is a lifeline, connecting him to the past, to a lost brother, to a once broken band. And to the millions of fans who still can't let go of the memories after the big mess in 2024. When his youngest daughter, Taylor Van Zant, was diagnosed with cavernoma, Johnny canceled a planned tours to take care of his family, even though the tumor turned out to be not cancerous. Facing the possibility of losing his child left him with a fresh hurt, quiet and always there. On social media, Johnny couldn't hide how vulnerable he felt, writing, "I've lost too many people. Can't lose my daughter too." For the first time in his career. He let himself be publicly fragile, but he didn't stay away for long. At the end of 2024, Johnny came back to the stage with a special tour celebrating 50 years of Lynyrd Skynyrd. On those shows, the night at the Airmont Auditorium, America's most famous country music venue, was recorded and came out in mid-2025. It's the album celebrating 50 years live at the Ryman. It was also the last performance to have founding member Gary Rossington, who died not long after. For Johnny, that night wasn't just attribute, it was a goodbye ceremony. In an April 2025 interview, Johnny shared, "And I know Skynyrd shouldn't T-Cyper. We don't keep going for ourselves. We do it for the ones hokin' anymore." Under Johnny's leadership, Lynyrd Skynyrd stays active through 2025. Going on a summer-long tour across the US and Europe, including shows in the UK, the Netherlands, and Germany in July. Fans didn't just come for the music. They come back as they know that every time Johnny walks on stage, Skynyrd lives again. Not in looks, but in spirit. When he's not performing, Johnny lives a simple life. He lives with his wife in Jacksonville, not far from the childhood home where Ronnie wrote his first songs. When not touring, he wakes up early, works in a small garden, shops at local stores, and talks with neighbors like any Southern uncle you've known your whole life. He once said in a podcast, "I don't need a big fancy house or a sports car. I need my guitar. It's the old house and diner with my family." He has no personal social media, no appearances at celebrity parties. Johnny chooses to live quietly, just like he's walked high school career without noise, without show, but never absent. And in that humility, Johnny Van Zant keeps doing what few can keep a symbol alive through every breath, every word, and every time. He sings for those no longer here to sing themselves. Johnny Van Zant never lived in Ronnie's shadow. He lived to keep that shadow from disappearing. For over 30 years, he never tried to replace a fallen legend, and he didn't want the spotlight. Instead, he just stepped it up, gently took the microphone, and sang these songs millions once heard from his brother, like a ceremony, like a promise, and like a way to keep memory from fading into silence. He didn't follow the path of most rock stars. No scandals, no loud announcements, no living for the big gestages or the brightest lights. Johnny kept going through voice alone, somehow with emotion, sometimes breaking from sadness. Every word he sang wasn't just music. It was a journey from a 17-year-old boy who lost his brother in a crash, to a father shaken by his daughter's illness, and now to an aging artist still standing strong on the same piece of land where it all began, Jacksonville, Florida. No Grammy, no solo entry into Heartache and Roll Hall of Fame. But maybe Johnny never needed those things. His legacy isn't measured in silver statuettes or gold plaques, but in something hard to name, the way someone stops when they hear Freebird. It's the way a tear falls in the dark during Simple Man, the way he bows his head in silence, and Deverian knows it's a goodbye to a brother who never came home. Johnny, Van Zant is the last living heartbeat of a generation of Southern rock that grew up on pain, faith, and the need to tell their story. And he's still telling it. Not with words, but with music. No big announcements, but people remember. No self-promotion, but every time he appears, they know a piece of Lynyrd Skynyrd's soul is here. Have you ever heard a song that felt like the singer was speaking your pain? If you've ever gone still while listening to Simple Man or Freebird, share that moment. Calcimabe, just maybe, Johnny is singing for you too. For the hurt you never said out loud. For the losses you never really let go of. And when he sings, you might realize something was never lost at all. It was music. And those who sing it with their whole heart